morning, everyone. We'll just wait a minute or so for others to join us, but thank you for being here. Right, let's start. So good morning and welcome to this Clover HR webinar. And today I'm going to be giving you some tips so you can feel more confident approaching an interview and give yourself the best chance of creating the strongest impression. And this is me. I'm Deirdre Silver. And prior to joining Clover, I spent 20 plus years in headhunting. And part of my role was helping candidates prepare for client interviews. And I also have a certificate in counselling and organisational dynamics. And this is Clover. Clover HR are a team of HR consultants, highly experienced business partners and specialists in recruitment, learning and development, coaching and health and safety. This is a year ago, this picture, the last meeting, but quite a few people have joined since then, and obviously hope to be meeting up again in the not too distant future. If you have any questions and answers, if you could keep them to the end and either then ask them via the chat or contact me directly, I'll be giving you all my contact details. Hopefully I have muted all microphones, but if you noticed it, you're not on mute. If you could mute yourself, that would be really helpful. Thank you. So first, let me introduce what we'll be looking at today. The different types of interview. There are several different types of interview. It's likely you'll be told what type of interview to expect. So it could be general interview, behavioural, competency, a panel interview, possibly even a group interview. We'll go into these in a lot more detail. It's very possible that the interview you're attending may well be a combination of 2 or even 3 of these. We'll look at preparation, and research is the key to a successful interview. So we'll be looking at researching the company, researching the role, and researching yourself. We'll be looking at how to answer questions, looking at the STAR technique. We'll have some ideas about questions to ask. Always a good idea to have some prepared. And we will have a few tips around online and video interviews, what you can control and what you can't. So congratulations, all the hard work with the CV, the application form, the approach have paid off, and the company have invited you for interview. And you now need to persuade them that you're the right person for the role, and you need to be specific about this role and this company. Everyone hopefully understands the anxiety, particularly at the moment, around employment for individual, but the company itself also needs to fill the role to benefit them and possibly ensure their future. So the first thing you need to get across is that this is the job you want, not a job you need. So let's look at the different types of techniques the organisation might use to find out if you are the right person for them. So a general interview, sometimes known as an unstructured interview, is where the interviewer goes through your CV and asks questions about your previous experience and qualifications and how they're relevant to the job under discussion, and make sure you know the information you've given them. Behavioural-based interviews are used to find out how you've handled certain situations in your previous jobs, and this will help the recruiter understand how you would face similar situations in their role. So the questions will be around how you cope with these situations. And again, we'll go into this in a little more detail. But the 4 types of questions could be asked in many different ways, but one way to look at them is, when did something go right? When did something go wrong? How you manage conflict for yourself and others, and how you motivate yourself and others. Competency-based interviews are also structured interviews. They're looking for you to demonstrate the skills, both hard and soft, such as communications and teamwork, that will enable you to do the role well and fit into the team. And the questions are likely to be open-ended. Tell me about a time. And some of the areas the employer will be looking for demonstrations of strength could be teamwork and or leadership, problem solving, decision making, openness to change, communication, commercial awareness, whether you're results driven. Look at the job description and the skills required. And the likelihood is that you've given the recruiter some confidence that you have the skills and competencies, or they wouldn't have invited you for interview. But the interview is your opportunity to build on that and to be fluent and articulate through your preparation. Panel interviews, and panels will conduct either of the 3 styles of interviews already noted. But even if they're taking the generalist approach, they're likely to be very structured, with the panelists having decided beforehand who is going to ask what questions, either by simply taking turns or by each taking an area of specialist knowledge. And a panel may well consist of a representative from HR, a potential line manager, and a potential team worker. Be prepared for follow-up questions from another member of the panel. This may be a deliberate technique, or your answer may genuinely have sparked interest. And always try to address your answers to the whole panel rather than concentrating on one member. Obviously, this is harder over video, but everyone understands. Now, group interviews, these are obviously less relevant at the moment, but they will be back in some form. They're very helpful for employers to judge communication skills, influencing skills, and teamwork. And the key here is to be open and engaging. You won't score points by making others look bad. You will score points by helping the team to succeed. And if a group as a whole performs badly, it's possible that no one will be hired. And bear in mind, the group as a whole is being interviewed, as well as the individuals within the group. And a very quick tip here, when you come in, don't just sit in silence, unless you've been instructed to do so. Talk to the people next to you, engage, begin the dialogue. Now, preparing for the interview. Hopefully you've been told what type of interview you'll be attending and who the interviewers will be. So the preparation you do now is absolutely key. And I would suggest building up a simple spreadsheet with the following pages. And some will be specific to a particular role. Others will help prepare for all interviews. So look at the organisation, the role, your career as per your CV or application form, your competencies, skills, your behaviours, and questions you may want to ask. So begin by researching the organisation. Make sure you know what it does. If the role you're interviewing for is a divisional role, make sure you also understand the whole of the company. Know who their major competitors are. Look at its size and reach. Will there be opportunities to move within the company if you want to, or might you be expected to? Now, obviously, look at the organisation's website, social media, what people say about them on Glassdoor, but try and see if there is anything about it in the press. Is it expanding? Is it going through a difficult time? Look at its values. Does it have a corporate social responsibility policy that particularly interests you? And have a look on LinkedIn if you know who's going to be interviewing you. They could well see that you've had a look, depending on your privacy settings, but don't worry, it's standard practice. And occasionally, when you first apply for a role, the name of the organisation is confidential, but generally by the time you reach interview stage, you do know who they are. And the role, have another look at the role. Try and see where it fits in the organisation. And if you're using LinkedIn for your research, bear in mind that not everyone updates their profiles, and also that the organisation may be looking for different skills and experience, often for positive reasons, but don't try and turn yourself into the person who's doing the role now. Look again at the essentials and desirables of the role and think about why they're essential and or desirable. Remember your career. Make sure you remember what you put in your CV or your form so you don't look blank when you're asked about what you liked in your role with XXX company. And if you've highlighted achievements, make sure you can talk about them in more depth, what they meant to you. And be prepared to talk about issues aside from your role, maybe learning and development that you've undertaken, whether it's company sponsored or you've undertaken as an individual, or any social events, charity events that you've organised or been involved with, all helpful. Now, behaviours. Generally, behaviour-based interviews look at how you've handled specific situations. So on your spreadsheet, think of examples along the following lines. And we looked earlier at those 4 areas where the questions may be directed. So when did something go right? When did something go wrong? How you manage conflict for yourself and others, and how you motivate yourself and others. So try and group these as how you faced conflict. Did you call in a line manager informally? Did you speak to a member of the team formally or informally? Did you feel you had to go straight to HR? Be prepared for a mistake you made and how you corrected it, and always stress how you learned from the error. And how you set goals, personal goals, team goals. You'll be looking at sales targets or delivering a webinar. And what are you proudest of? What were your achievements? And you'll probably have given this some thought when preparing your CV. And I would recommend preparing 2 examples for each of those. Competencies. Now look at the job description again and the skills required. And look at how you can demonstrate strengths. Don't just say, I'm a good leader. Show how you led well. And I'm looking at a few examples on the next slide. But they will be looking for demonstration of strengths in areas such as teamwork, leadership, problem solving, decision making, communication, commercial awareness, and results driven. Think of examples of both what you did and also how you did it. For example, for a customer service role requiring an exceptional facility with customers, be prepared to give an example of when a customer was difficult and how you dealt with that. Also an example of how you gave good customer service when you went above and beyond. If you're looking at a project management role or a role that involves delivering projects, try and avoid saying that you finished the project on time and on budget, but give an example of how you overcame the difficulties to achieve this. Did suppliers try to change the prices? Did you lose team members? How did you manage to achieve that success in spite of the challenges? So you've thought of your answers and examples. Now let's look at what the best way of answering their questions are. And one good area to look at is the STAR technique. And it's a way of presenting your answers in such a way that they give the interviewer everything they need to know. And briefly, it stands for S is situation, give the interviewer some context. T is the task, tell the interviewer what you were asked to do. A is action, tell the interviewer what action you took, and emphasize the I, although indicate collaboration. And R is the result, tell the interviewer the result, what you achieved. And second R is review. Not all interviewers are looking for this, but a sentence on what you've taken from the task and maybe what you would have done differently next time could be a plus. And make sure you just outline the first 2 items and give more time to your actions and the result. You may have been given tasks, so check your interview invitation to see if there are any scheduled tasks you'll be asked to undertake. This could be a presentation, some emails to answer, some sample coding, and make sure you understand what you'll be required to do. Right, so to the best of your ability, you've prepared for and answered the interviewer's questions and carried out their tasks. And now it's your turn to ask the questions. And there may well be questions that have arisen during the course of the interview, but it's always worth having a few prepared. Again, it demonstrates that this is a role you've thought about and invested time in. You may well have plenty of ideas, but some suggestions are asking the interviewer how long they've been with the company, how have they progressed. Sometimes they tell you this in their introduction. Ask whether the company is diversifying. What are the biggest challenges facing the team? What are the opportunities for training? Ask about charity or environmental support. And if you haven't been told, ask if this is a new role or if the team is expanding. And always sound positive when asking questions. Now, very quickly, online interviews. For obvious reasons, these are becoming the norm and they're likely to remain so. And it's generally understood that there are certain things you can't control, but certain things you can. So what you can control, make sure you're prepared, be at your device early, have the email with the code you need open, have the code and passcode written down. Make sure your sound is on so you can hear the interviewer. Make sure your device is charged. Obviously, space is limited for many people. If you can, find a clear space behind you. It's less distracting for the interviewer, but close doors, remove washing, etc. Check all filters and backgrounds. And if at all possible, try and be the only person online for the duration of the interview if your broadband is not as strong as you would like. And dress appropriately. Just look at how you would dress if you were going into the company's offices and dress like that. I mean, it looks professional and it also helps get you in the right frame of mind. At the end of the interview, when the interviewer wraps up, thank them, repeat your interest in the role, and briefly say why. Remember to stress it's this role and this organisation that is of interest. And after the interview, maybe within about 24 hours, email to say thank you. You may genuinely have more questions to ask. There may be something you forgot to mention, and repeat your interest. It will be appreciated. So that's it. I hope you found this guide helpful. Wish you every success in your job search. I think we've got one question so far, but if you have any more, please get in touch. And all my contact details are on the next slide. So my email is Deirdre, which is DEIRDRE @cloverhr.co.uk. And my phone number 07986 298 367. So thank you very much. And see. Are there any ideal questions to ask at interview? Well, I hope we've given you some ideas. I think the important thing is just to make the interviewer know that you have taken an interest in the company and the role. If the role is clear to you, ask something about the company. I think it really does go back to the fact that it is that particular role you're interested in. So I hope that's helpful. So thank you again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.